Good morning. Hello. Thank you for joining the 2021 Hoodwinked series. It's a fraud prevention program through the Oklahoma Insurance Department. My name is Adrienne Selvage. I'm part of the OID team. I just want to tell you first and foremost, we are a state agency. We do not sell insurance. Our job is to regulate the people that do sell insurance that are domiciled here in our state. We are responsible for making sure that the insurers that are here are able to make good and pay on all of their claims. And we are also here to make sure that anybody in the state that has questions about their home and auto, their life insurance, they have questions about claims or denials or cancellations, you guys can call our office and we have a team that can help with that. We also have a website. It's oid.ok.gov, and we will have contact information there too. I wanted to tell you guys a few years ago, maybe 8, I'm not sure, Ray might correct me, but a few years ago, we started this fraud prevention program in an attempt to try to mitigate all of the scams that were targeting Oklahomans in our state. And we went to several partnering agencies to see if they would help, because they were also seeing a huge amount of scams. And so we partnered with the Oklahoma Attorney General's Office, the Oklahoma Department of Securities, the Oklahoma Banking Association, AARP Oklahoma, and new this year, we've reached out to the Social Security Administration of Oklahoma, as well as the National Insurance Crime Bureau. All of these people see and hear about scams daily, and so they've tried to work with us to try to tell you guys what they're hearing currently. So we used to do these on the road, and due to the pandemic the last 2 years, these have been virtual. So I am kind of curious if any of you guys are willing, go ahead and throw in the chat box what you guys like. Do you guys like to be virtual, or would you prefer that we get back out on the road next year and maybe visit your community and see you guys in person? So during this WebEx, you won't be able to see, or we won't be able to see or hear you, but you can see and hear us. So we want to know what your questions are. There's a chat box on the bottom right-hand side of my screen. I think yours will be the same. And so please, if you have a question that comes up, type it there, and we will get to questions at the end, and certainly try to get you guys some answers. So now I want to kick it over to Ray Walker. He's the Division Director of the Medicare Assistance Program here at OID, so he can tell you guys what they do.
Good morning, Adrienne. Hi, folks. We're really glad that you could be with us today. I will put in my plug for what we're going to do in the future. You know, I really enjoyed going out and doing those live events and being able to see people and interact and go around the state doing those sort of things. But I also like doing these online events as well. There are a lot of our speakers, probably today's speaker included, that probably wouldn't be able to go with us to 7 or 8 different events around the state. So I'd kind of like to see us go to a process where we're doing the live events along with some of these online events, so that we have the opportunity to get some of the really great speakers that we've been able to do using this methodology. So very quickly, I just wanted to remind you the Medicare Assistance Program at the Oklahoma Insurance Department is a grant-funded program, and one of those grants that funds our program is the SMP grant, the Senior Medicare Patrol Grant. And that gives us funds to go out and educate seniors on how they can protect themselves from becoming a victim of fraud, waste, and abuse in the Medicare system. So we really want to do anything and everything we can to help protect Oklahoma seniors. So toward that end, I'm very excited to introduce today's speaker. This is one of those folks that we probably would not have been able to get for our regular series had we not done this. And so I'm very pumped. Amy Nofziger is the Director of Victim Support for the AARP Fraud Watch Network and has nearly 2 decades of experience in fraud prevention and victim support. While at AARP, Nofziger has led the AARP Fraud Watch Network Helpline, a nationwide toll-free helpline for anyone to report concerns about fraud. She also has collaborated on groundbreaking research, which includes subjects include multi-level marketing enterprises, best interventions for fraud, and chronic victimization. She is frequently sought after for public speaking opportunities and is represented across the country to consumers and professionals on consumer fraud and other social issues facing older adults. She has worked with the New York Times, Live with Kelly and Ryan, Dr. Phil, Wall Street Journal, Consumer Reports, and other publications to help shed light on fraud and exploitation of consumers. She has a bachelor's degree in criminology, sociology, and a master's of arts degree with specialization in leadership. She is a certified fraud examiner, and we are so excited to have you with us today, Amy. Take it away.
Oh my gosh, that is a bio that if my mother was on this call, she would love to hear about, but nobody else does. All you really want to know is about fraud, right? But thank you, and thank you for having me. And let me tell you, listen, I've never been to Oklahoma. I'm sitting in my home office in Denver right now, so I would be happy to go on those 7-city tours with you anytime you want, because just like the rest of you guys, we've been at home for the last year, and I could use a nice little road trip. So I'm excited to be here. I am brought you some of the best kind of fraud videos, fraud clips, fraud information that we have. I kind of pieced it together to keep it brief, but interesting, because what I really want is to hear from you and have your questions. So just like Adrian and Ray said, just pop them in the chat. Ray will get those questions and we can get answers. Just a little bit more background about my daily life at the AARP Fraud Watch Network Helpline. I manage a team about, I think we're at 70 fraud specialists right now across the country who take 550 phone calls a day from people who are either reporting a scam or people who have been sadly victimized by a scam. So I have heard every single scam that is out there as of today, but we always know that the scammers are following the headlines and they're creating new scams to steal your hard-earned money. So you'll hear me say this throughout the presentation today, but please report. Even if you're not sure it's a scam and you just, maybe there's some red flags, please report it to the helpline and I'll make sure you get all that information. Because this is how we find out what these scams are. This is how we work with the Oklahoma Insurance Department. This is how we work with the AG's office. We say, hey, we just got 2 reports on this. Can you guys investigate? What can you do? Then we turn it over to the AARP Oklahoma office. They put it on their Facebook page. They put it in the bulletin, right? That's how we get these scams to you. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and you guys are going to learn quickly how to scam-proof your life. But I think you'll find it very enjoyable because I have some really interesting, actually undercover videos in here and tapes. So today, we're going to really talk about spoofing, caller ID, stranger danger, and where to go for guidance. You know, technology has changed so much in the last 5-10 years, right? I'll never forget when I got my first caller ID. It was when actually my oldest child was born, and my mom said to me, I am buying you caller ID for a baby present because you do not need to get up and get the phone if you're with the baby. And, you know, I remember it would have someone's name on it. I'd be like, no, I don't want to talk to them. You know, my mom would call. Okay, sure. You know, but nowadays we cannot trust caller ID because of this spoofing technology. The spoofing technology you'll learn is when you get a phone call and your caller ID shows a very similar prefix to yours and you think, oh, it must be a neighbor. Or it even says Social Security Administration, or it says your bank on it. That is spoofing, and that is such a big problem, and that's how a lot of these scams start. So we're going to go really in depth on that. You know, we're going to talk about stranger danger. I don't know why people don't understand that when you're online, anybody you meet is a stranger. You're not going to let a stranger into your front door of your house. So let's not let strangers into your social media. So we're going to get into that. And then certainly we're going to give some tips on how to protect yourself. We're even going to listen to a Social Security imposter scam call that utilized some of that spoofing technology. So the definition of spoofing is an attack. A spoofing attack occurs when a telephone program masquerades as another by falsifying data to gain illegitimate advantage. That's a lot, right? Here's the interesting thing about spoofing, though. It's actually legal. It's illegal if it's not used to harm. Other reasons why people spoof. Sometimes your doctor's office spoofs the number because let's say you have a doctor that's on call and they don't want their, personal cell phone or their home phone to come up. They spoof the number to make it look like it's coming from the main office. There's actually cards that you can go online and buy to spoof phone numbers. They say, oh, it's to play a trick on your grandkids and pretend it's the Easter Bunny. I'm sorry, nobody needs to do that, right? That's one of the things that, these businesses are out there. They're saying they're for legitimate reasons, but they're really not. Nobody needs to spoof to pretend it's the Easter Bunny, right? And we know that the criminals have taken this technology and used it to their advantage. So here's some examples of spoofing. You can see the IRS. This is an actual phone, picture taken of it, with the phone number in it. And y'all know that phone number. I mean, look at the last 4 digits, 1040. You know that is the IRS phone number. And a criminal spoofed that phone number to make it show up on that person's caller ID to make it look like it was coming from the IRS. So, as we all probably do, I have my, smartphone right here. Oh, you can see my dog. He's my screenshot, not even my kids. So if the phone rings and it says, IRS, and let's just say it's around April, and hello, IRS, is there a problem with my account? That's when the scam starts, right? And spoofing is just so easy for these people to do. But spoofing is not just the phone. You can see here, Netflix. I am sure some of you have received this, even if you don't have a Netflix account, right? So it has the name, thank you for being a member. Oh, sorry, your payment is not accepted, or it says right here, only Korean issue cards are accepted. Update payment, click the link. This looks legitimate. Look how real it is. The minute you click that link, you're going to put in your information and it's going to go into a malicious website. Over here, you can see Microsoft, your computer has been backed up, blocked, whatever it is. Here, this is a text message. We're seeing a lot of these spoofing right now with delivery companies, like saying your FedEx package has been delayed. Click this link to update payment information. We saw a lot of that around the holidays because of the pandemic. So many people were, sending packages. Amazon was a huge one as well during that time. So just be aware of these and learn the red flags. So now I'm going to show you a video, and I have the volume on my end fully turned up. So you might want to turn your volume up a little bit on this. But this is a demonstration from one of our colleagues, Doug Shadell, who's the state president in Washington State, and a gentleman that works in the industry, the tech industry. And what he does is he actually does spoofing attacks for practice on companies, because we've all heard about these ransomwares, right? We even had one with the pipeline a couple of weeks ago. Oftentimes those happen with either a spoofing phone call or a business email compromise. And so what he does is he goes in and kind of tests companies' firewalls. So go ahead and watch this and see how easy he can spoof these phone numbers.
Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm looking up, just as an example, since we're in a...
Don't know what happened. Sorry about that. Hold on. There we go.
The Orlando Police Department. Right. And I'm grabbing a publicly known number. So I see this number here. I'm putting it into my spoofing software. I'm saving it. And now I'm calling you. As simple as that is, that took all of 60 seconds. And what will happen is the number that comes up on your phone will be the literal Orlando Police Department's phone number. Okay. If you were to hang up and call that number back, you would get the Orlando Police Department.
Well, let's do that.
Okay, so
let me do that real quick. So what I'm doing is I'm calling back the number you just gave me, spoofing the Orlando Police Department, see if it really is the Orlando Police Department.
I've reached the Orlando Police Information Desk. If this is an emergency, hang up and dial 911.
So that's it.
and this is an attack that happens. So people will say, how do I know if you're from there? The attacker says, okay, look, hang up, call that number back. You'll hit a main switchboard. You can't get directed to me because I have an internal extension. I'll call you back in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Person hangs up, they call, they get the message you just heard.
Right.
Now the attacker calls back and it just seems legitimate.
Can you look up the Internal Revenue Service and try that?
Yes, we can. Just seeing if that one comes up.
What is this number now?
The White House.
This is the White
I'm
House.
calling you from the White House.
Okay. Let's see if we call that number back, what happens. Okay, so now I'm dialing the number you just called.
And here's the part of the attack that helps build the trust is because I can call you to make it look like from any number. And then if you were to call that number back, you get the real office.
Yeah.
And if I call you back again from that number, you now go, okay, yeah, this must be Rip because I just called it and it is the IRS.
So I think that's a really good example of, and it's simple, it's easy. He was just sitting there with a laptop, and then Doug, our AARP colleague, just had a cell phone. And you could see how easy that is. And we see these spoofing attacks on Social Security imposter scam, where someone calls you and tells you that there's a problem with your Social Security account, or that your Social Security number was used in a crime. Oftentimes that crime involves a rental car with drugs and the state of Texas. I don't know why the criminals are picking on the state of Texas. But they say, you know, the police officers are coming to your house, they're going to arrest you unless you pay or unless you give us your Social Security number and your driver's license. Well, again, your phone says Social Security Administration. It is the number for the Social Security Administration. It just adds to the credibility. We've seen these with Medicare. There are a lot of Medicare scams out there right now, especially the DNA swab scam, where someone will call you and say whether it's to check for cancer or heart problems or to see if you're eligible for the COVID vaccine. They need to send you a swab to swab your DNA. They just need your Medicare number. This has cost Medicare in the billions of dollars of fraud. And then finally, we're seeing these spoofing attacks with the IRS scam that you saw earlier on the example. This one has, it doesn't matter how old you are in any of these scams, but this one in particular is affecting a lot of younger people. So if you have a younger person in your life who by chance maybe just started working and is paying taxes for the first time, or they're not really familiar with how the IRS works, please share the scam with them, because we've had a lot of new taxpayers that are filling out their forms, get this call, think, oh, well, I must have messed up. I guess I now need to buy the IRS some prepaid gift cards. So people always ask me, you know, it must just be people who are uneducated that, you know, fall victim to scams. Absolutely not true. You know, a lot of the research that we have done found that your education, your economic level, your gender, none of that matters to your susceptibility of victimization. What matters is this ether and this emotion that you see up on the screen. Ether is the condition that the master closer, the criminal, puts you in by hitting your fear, your greed, and your urgency. Basically, what they're doing is they're getting you in this emotional twister, this tizzy of emotion. And what happens, and this is actually scientific, chemical, what happens in your body is all of a sudden you start to think with this. You think with your heart. You're not thinking with the cognitive part of your brain. You're thinking with the emotional part. You're not thinking 1 + 1 = 2. When you're in this situation, you're thinking 1 + 1 = oh my gosh, I have to do this now. You're not thinking cognitively. So I'm going to show you a series of phone calls. You'll be able to see it in closed captioning on the screen. These phone calls were recorded by, again, our colleague Doug. So in these examples, this is a Social Security scam. And Doug got this call, and Doug was the one you saw earlier. He got this call and he kind of played along with the criminals because he wanted people like yourselves to be able to hear these calls and kind of spot some of the emotional triggers. And even while you're listening to these, pay attention to how you're feeling. Pay attention to how you would feel if this was you on the phone. Now, this is not the full call. I just pulled out some of the sections. It is hard to understand the criminal, but again, that's why we have it closed caption. So here we go.
I do believe that you talked to my office representative before, and you would be aware about the case regarding against your resident, right? Didn't you receive a call from our department that because we have received orders and notices from law enforcement agencies to suspend your resident, and we have received suspicious activity in your name?
Okay. So right in that clip, the ether, the emotionality of it, that guy is talking fast talking and kind of taking control of the conversation. Now, yes, Carl in that clip, who is Doug, just said one word. But right, they're barraging you with these emotions. Well, you know your social security number has been compromised, right? Like you are in trouble and you already talked to my other agent. So now you're on the phone with the big agent, right? And they're talking fast and they're saying this and they're using kind of high pressure language. So then this is the part where they talk about what you need to do next.
First of all, what you have to do is you have to just go to your bank and withdraw all the money from your bank account as cash. Right now? Right now, yes, because you want to safeguard your money first. That is the reason.
So right now, yes, again, that emotionality of it. And that is a huge red flag in any of these scams. It doesn't matter what scam we're talking about, that high pressure and immediacy, do it now. That is a huge red flag. So when I've shown people these tapes and played them for people, the one thing I want, like right now, you know, again, you're sitting at home, you're not on the phone with this criminal, but I have a feeling you probably feel a little anxious, right? And you're not even the person on the phone. You're just kind of like worked up a little bit because that's what they want you to do. He said, yes, right now, like, oh my gosh, how could you not believe that right now is what needs to happen? Also, safeguard your money. This is when the criminals kind of flip it a little bit and you'll see they're either going to yell at you a lot or they're going to make it like they're doing you a favor. Like, we really want to help you. We want to safeguard your money because you're going to get in so much trouble with the Social Security Administration. They're going to take over your bank account. So what you need to do is pull all your money out of your bank account. So when the Social Security Administration tries to go into your bank account to get the money, there is no money. So let's hear what happens next. Oh, sorry. Next slide. There we go.
If I take my money out, what do I do with it? You have to go to the government. You have to purchase the government certificate prepaid bond, and you have to convert the money into government certificate prepaid bonds. You just have to provide us a government certificate prepaid bonds serial number so that we can validate that.
So I'm going to play that one more time because I want you to hear what he's asking him to do.
If I take my money out, what do I do with it? You have to go to the government certificate. You have to purchase the government certificate prepaid bond, and you have to convert the money into government certificate prepaid bonds. You just have to provide us a government certificate prepaid bonds serial number so that we can validate that.
So I know I can't get feedback from you guys right now, but you can even pop it in the chat. What do you think is a certified government prepaid bond? So, you know, again, if I am somebody on the phone who is caught up in this emotional ether with this Social Security, you know, worker, and I think I'm going to get in a lot of trouble, and this government official who has authority, fast talking, you know, authoritative voice is telling me to go to the government certified prepaid bond store, don't know what a certified prepaid bond store is, and get these certified prepaid bonds. What do you think he's talking about? What do you think he wants Carl to get? Gift cards. So gift cards have become the #1 preferred method of scammers and criminals in this country. And everyone you see up there has probably been used in a crime. So did the criminal, Mr. Johnson or whatever his name was, did he ever say prepaid gift card? No. Did he ever say go get a Best Buy gift card? No. He said government prepaid bond. And if you think about it, think about 5 years ago, let's say. These gift cards were not as accessible as they are today. You can walk into any grocery store, any home goods store, any home improvement store, wherever you're going, and you will see these huge carousels of plastic that seem pretty benign. They are not. They are being used every day to commit millions of dollars of fraud and money laundering. So I always like to tell people to kind of do this yourself. Next time you're out in the community, which, because we're kind of out there right now, right? Go into your grocery store and just kind of do a little fraud fighting yourself. Go up to the gift card carousel, like the one you see here, and look for the warning sign. Look for the warning sign that says, did someone ask you to buy this card for XYZ? Because you will not see one. I find that insane that these are contributing to the millions of dollars lost in our economy every year, and you can barely see a warning sign. So just so you know, you'll see this coming out from AARP and certainly AARP Oklahoma. We are taking a massive stance on these gift cards and trying to put some significant interventions. We're not trying to get people to not buy gift cards, because listen, you can send me a gift card every day. I love gift cards, but I am not buying gift cards to pay for taxes. I'm not buying gift cards for my boyfriend who apparently lives on an oil rig in the Baltic Ocean or Baltic Sea. I'm buying them for friends and family. So we have a mantra. We have a pledge. So you can say this to yourself, but this is what I would like something similar to be on every gift card rack in the country. Take the pledge. I will never, ever, ever buy a gift card for someone I don't know. And the thing is, I'll tell people, don't even, like, gift card anymore isn't even a red flag. It's prepaid government bonds. It's all of that stuff. Because again, the scammers are so good at what they do that they know how to manipulate their victims, and they know how to circumvent any of those things out there. So gift card is a warning. That's why they don't say it. They say electronic voucher government prepaid bond. The thing about gift cards is, for those of you who are not familiar with it, the minute, so let's say Carl in that example took out $20,000 from his bank account. And then, and you heard the criminal say, get the serial numbers off the back. All he would have to do is go back to that carousel, buy a couple of the yellow ones, buy a couple of the orange ones, put, 500, 500, 500, 500, load them up at the point of checkout. And even if the point of checkout employee is trained on how to spot these scams, they're trained to ask, do you know who you're sending this money to? Or who are you sending this money to? And the criminals say to the victims, if someone asks you, tell them it's for your niece's graduation, because if you tell them it's because of this, they're going to charge you a higher tax, right? So the money put on the cards, all Carl in that situation needs to do is read the number off of the back of the card and the PIN number, or take a picture of it, send it to the criminal, and like that, the money is gone. The money is gone before Carl even leaves the parking lot of the grocery store. So next up, stranger danger. I mentioned this a little bit in the beginning, but this is an area at the AARP Fraud Watch Network Helpline that is probably always in our top 5 complaints, but it is probably #1 in the amount of money that is lost. And I'm talking about new friendship or romance scams. Excuse me, I have that fun summer spring cold. So stranger danger is real. Remember when our mom used to tell us, don't talk to strangers? I don't know why we're forgetting that now. You can read up on the screen that the FTC reported $342 million lost. I'm going to tell you that is vastly underreported. I would take that number and almost multiply it by 44 44, because that's the estimate of how many people 1 in 44 report. Some people don't even know they're victims. Just this Monday on our helpline, we had 20 romance scam victims. Scammers use stolen profiles, stolen photos. They go on dating sites, they go on Facebook, and they're even on apps with like Words with Friends. You think you're playing with somebody, they compliment you. You might not even be looking for love. All of a sudden this relationship starts, they have a problem, they need your help, you're a nice person, can you just send me $100 and, you know, an Apple gift card so I can keep playing, you know, whatever it is. We're seeing a lot of these criminals coming in to kind of non-traditional places. We had a victim the other day that met their, you know, stranger, so to speak, on a fan club website. They were all fans of old cars. And just like you're on, you know, social media, you're chatting, they see your name, all of a sudden they take you into Messenger, you're chatting there, then they go to WhatsApp or text message, and the next thing you know, they've gotten you for $100,000. One of the things with romance scams, and I even hate to see romance scams as a word, and that's why we kind of say stranger or new best friends, is because in my 19 years at AARP, I can't even begin to tell you how many people that I've talked to have been victims of this scam that were married, that weren't even looking for love. They basically were maybe just online, talking to people, chatting around, and the next thing you know, they fall in love and have an affair with a criminal. And it's devastating emotionally and financially. So yeah, so someone asked me in the chat if I could talk about the numbers again. So the FTC reported $342 million in losses in the last 3 years. But I think that that's hugely underreported, because the last I saw, Adult Protection Services put out a report that said they believe only 1 in 44 people report their victimization. So if you take that 342 million and multiply it by 44, I think that's maybe more of what we're talking about with this scam. And remember, this money is coming out of our economy and mostly going overseas to international crime organizations. And this is a fact. This is true. People want to believe that they're giving money to somebody that, and the person's buying Air Jordans. Absolutely not. This money is going to terrorism. This money is going to trafficking. And this money is going to the international crime rings. It has been proven, and it's like, I don't mean to scare people with that, but this is a we problem. This is not just a you as the victim problem. This is a we society problem that we need to tackle. So the bottom one is be aware of what you say and send online. This one is affecting a lot of younger people, and I'm going to be upfront and be very clear with you guys, and I hope you don't take any offense or get embarrassed by this. But right now there is a huge problem with people meeting people on, whether it's apps or Facebook or whatever. They start to flirt and they send nude photos. You might be sitting in your room right now laughing, saying, no one would want to see me nude. Trust me, the criminals do not care. We are all humans. We all want to be thought of as pretty, handsome, desirable. There was never an intention to be in a relationship with you in this scam. They just want that picture, because then they're going to blackmail you. This is affecting younger people. This is affecting older people. This is one of those scams that is life-changing. And I'm not talking about the money that is lost. I'm talking about the emotional damage that this is doing to people. I have been on the phone with countless people saying, I get it. You're okay. You know, they're threatening you. They're blackmailing you. They're not going to send it to your mom. And guess what? If they do, she doesn't care. She's seen it. Like, this is a problem. And so I know it's a hard topic to talk about, but do not send any compromising photos. And you can even kind of tell in my voice how passionate I am about this one, because this is the one that brings people to the verge where they have told us they have considered taking their life. And that is unacceptable to me. That is unacceptable to me. So again, the stranger danger with these romance scams: never send money or gift cards to anybody that you have not met in person. What we're seeing a lot now, again, because the criminals can circumvent those red flags, is they're saying, oh, I don't want money from you, but can you open up a bank account for me? Can I put my own money in your bank account and then you transfer it out? Well, that seems harmless, right? They're not asking for money. They're just asking to deposit money in my account. Yeah, that's called money laundering. And that's what they're doing. This has probably, I would say, 1 out of 2 romance scams that we get on our helpline has a money mule, money laundering angle. And the victims don't even know. They think they're letting their boyfriend overseas put money in their account because he doesn't have access to a bank account wherever he is. No, what they're doing is they're taking ill-gotten gains from other victims, and oftentimes it's unemployment fraud that's happening right now. They're taking their ill-gotten criminal unemployment fraud, putting it in your account, mixing it with your legitimate money. Oh, look at that. It's like a washing machine. They're washing the money, and then they're taking it out and sending it to somebody else. So it's untraceable. You right there committed a federal crime. The Department of Justice is taking a significant stance on this. And if you're interested in it, you can go to justice.gov, and look up Money Mule, and you'll read all about it. This, if anybody in your life says that they let someone deposit money in their account, talk to them about it. This is significant. And the DOJ, as much as they don't want to, they are arresting innocent victims because they don't know that they're innocent victims. They think they're actually participating in these crimes. If you have met somebody online and you are just so over the moon with them and so excited about them, and you're telling your friends and family, and they're like, oh, that doesn't seem right, or, you know, what I hear most from victims is, I can't believe they're not happy for me. It's not that. They're worried. They're seeing the red flags. And remember what I said about ether earlier? They're not in the ether. You are. They're outside. They're thinking with their cognitive brain when you're thinking with your emotional brain, because you're in love, right? You're in love. You love this person. You're creating dreams and hopes and everything. So listen to them. Listen to the skepticism. I know it's hard when you think that this person is real, but listen to the skepticism, because they're not in that emotional brain like you are. This one is probably one of the simplest things that people can do. It doesn't always yield results, but do a reverse image search on the person that you're chatting with. I actually had a woman, let me see if I can pull it up really quick. I had a woman the other day who was chatting with somebody who was a scammer, and she sent me the photos of him. And I took the photos and I reverse searched him, and I found like these photos on, so this is what the criminal, right? This is like, here he is in his military. Absolutely not. That criminal stole those photos of an innocent victim and is using them, right? This happens a lot with realtors, military models, voice talents, everything. Anyone that has a picture online that is accessible, the criminals will take that picture, use it at their own. You think that's your boyfriend, that's your girlfriend. You think that's the person that is in love with you, but it's not. It's another victim. So you can go to Google image search, or you can go to a website called Tiny, T-I-N-Y-E-Y-E, Tiny Eye. And you can upload the picture and see where else it shows. This is a great way, especially if you're dealing with a friend or a family who's not necessarily understanding the concept of this fraud. You can do that. I've also done it with puppy scams, right? There are a lot of pet scams out there. Yesterday, I had a victim who was buying 2 dachshunds, and they told me the website. I mean, these puppies were beyond adorable. Like, I fell in love with them. they were iStock photos, right? They weren't the real dog photos. So I took that dog image, put it in Tiny Eye, and that dog came up all over the internet in other pictures. So it's just a great prevention method. So quickly, because I want to get to your questions, there's a couple of other things that you can do. If you haven't already, you can sign up with the USPS for informed delivery. So informed delivery, what it does is it sends you a picture, and I just got mine this morning. Let me see if I can pull it up while I'm talking. It sends you a picture of the mail that you will be receiving that day. And so what this does is it helps you understand what to expect in your mailbox. So you can see here, it just scans. Every piece of mail is already scanned, but if you sign up for informed delivery, you can get a scanned thing of the mail. What this does is it helps to know. So let's say today I see that I'm expecting, a tax statement or something, and then I go to my mailbox and it's not there. Then I wait a day and it's still not there. That's when I can start thinking, okay, maybe someone stole my mail and I need to take some protections for identity theft. So you can go to this website there. It's free to sign up. I actually find it very valuable, especially like if we have our mail on hold and I'm out of town, I can know what's coming in my mail to protect myself. When you're buying something online from a retailer you're unfamiliar with, one of the best ways to do it is always do your searches with a BBB, with the Attorney General's office, but oftentimes they don't have the reports on this. So take the company name in a URL or a search bar, and then after it, type the word scams, frauds, complaints, whatever you want, and then use other people's examples to make your decision. It's pretty amazing. I just had a woman this morning from Florida who got involved with the travel company. And of course, after, you always want to do this before, but after she put in the name and she put in scam, and there were thousands of complaints on this company. Enter all your trusted contacts into your phone, your smartphone. So when it rings, you know who is calling, right? So, and do this for your loved ones, because I recommend, and my last bullet point is, do not pick up the phone unless you absolutely know who's calling. Like this morning, it was funny. I called Adrienne and she didn't have my number in her thing, and I can see her on the screen and she's looking at it probably thinking, who's calling me from this number? That's what she should do. Like, she should question it, obviously. But if she had my name in her contacts, my face or my name would come up. And then anything else, let it go to voicemail, because then you have the control over that voicemail and you can decide if you want to take that call. People say, well, what if it's my doctor or, something like that? Well, one, your doctor maybe should be in your contacts if you need quick access to your doctor. And then additionally, if it's your doctor or any other important call, they will leave you a message. So here is the Fraud Watch Network helpline and the Fraud Watch Network website. Please reach out to us anytime. We are there for you. Also, utilize your AARP Oklahoma State office. I know Sean and Joy there. They're all fantastic. Every staff there is great. They have a great fraud fighter program. So you can reach out to them if you want to volunteer and get involved in the state office. So now I think we're going to open it up for questions.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, that was really, really good. I got a lot of really good information out of that. And I saw so many features that I've seen other people talk about, and I've heard other people mention. What you talked about, how the scams follow the headlines. It's been scary how we've watched that occur. When the DNA, when the genetic scam started occurring, it was right after Medicare suddenly said, oh, well, we're going to start covering some genetic testing. Well, it was very specific genetic testing, not this broad all cancer type scam that was going on. And the same thing was true. The moment we started hearing about COVID-19, it was like it switched from the genetic testing immediately to COVID-19, and we started seeing that same bunch of scams taking place. It's scary how quickly that happens.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's funny because not funny, but funny in my fraud world. Bitcoin and crypto has been a long kind of place for fraud in my world. Well, recently the Federal Trade Commission just released an article saying that fraud complaints regarding crypto went up 1,000% in the last couple of months. Well, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that none of us hear about, these, kids that put in $2 into some rando crypto and now they're millionaires. Or Elon Musk, he was on Saturday Night Live and the Bitcoin went up and down and up and down. And so I've done probably 4 interviews on that this week, but you're exactly right, Ray. I mean, the scammers follow the headlines and use that to confuse and manipulate you.
Next question was about this spoofing that you were talking about and about how it's legal. In fact, there are companies that you can go to on the internet to help you spoof. Is there anything that you know of that's being done to curtail that activity, or at least make these companies more accountable for determining if somebody, one of their customers is using their services for illegal means?
Yes, and so there is. I believe it was before the pandemic. There was a lot of movement on Capitol Hill regarding this. So, and I'm going to kind of mess it up because I'm not the advocacy person, but I'll tell you in a nutshell. It's that the phone companies are going to have to verify that that is a number connected to a reliable source before they transmit it to you. So they're going to almost have to quickly spot check it. I don't know when that's going to happen, but if you go to the FCC.gov, so FC as in cat, C as in cat.gov, the Federal Communications Commission, you can look it up. I believe the last kind of name they had for it was called Shaken and Stirred. So you can look it up on their website and read more information about it and follow that to make sure if it does, come down to voting, that you can talk to your representative to make sure that they support that. But in the meantime, we have to take the action to protect ourselves. If you haven't already on your landline, I would look into signing up for something called Robo. This is a company that actually won the Federal Trade Commission's Innovation Award a few years ago, and we at AARP work with them. What happens is when if you're signed up for it, the robocall hits your line and hits the Nomo Robo line pretty much at the same time. It'll ring once at your house. If Nomo Robo determines that that's a robocall, they'll circumvent it to their system so it's off of your phone. I have it on my landline here. It's not good at every landline. It is free, but you can go on their website and check it out. It really does save a lot of calls coming into my home.
And that's NOMOROBO?
Correct.
Okay, that's awesome. I think I had heard about that once before, but it's been a little while, so that's a great idea. Then the other thing I wanted to mention before we because I've got some questions on romance scams, the kiosks where all these gift cards are. And you are absolutely right. You can go pretty much into any store and there will be some gift card of some kind that is available. And I love this idea of somehow making it more apparent to people, this warning about buying these gift cards and the potential of scams. And, hopefully government will get involved in some sort of oversight. But in the meantime, is there anything as advocates that we can do? I mean, are there things that we can do to maybe promote, maybe with the S&P program, could we maybe be doing something in our local communities to maybe print up some signs and just ask local vendors if they would be willing to post those where they're selling those cards?
Yeah, I think it is going to be a grassroots effort. I really think it is. And certainly with the campaign I talked about with AARP, I'm sure the AARP Oklahoma State office would love to partner on something like that. I think the messaging is critical because, as I said, these scammers know how to circumvent any warning that's out there. So if you just say to the victim who has these cards, who is under the ether, I think you're being scammed, they're not going to believe you. So one of the tactics that we've been trying is to ask, again, get them into that cognitive brain and ask questions. So what if there was a sign on the gift card carousel that said, did somebody ask you to buy this card or tell you to buy this card because you're in trouble with the government? Yes. It's almost like a create your own adventure. Yes. Okay. Then you take it down, right? So it's not enough to say, These are warnings, right? We really have to kind of get into the mind of the victim when they walk up to those cards. But yes, I think it's going to be a grassroots level effort. We as AARP collectively are definitely working with retailers and kind of changing some of the language, putting some of the information out there, making it bigger. But you know, what I call these gift cards, what I call Bitcoin, what I call crypto, all of that kind of stuff, I call them the enablers in a way, right? They're kind of enabling this transfer of money to happen with no recourse. Nobody right now manages or governs gift cards. There's no regulation on gift cards. Is it the store that sold them? Is it the brand name? Is it the backer of the card? Who manages and owns these cards? And until we can kind of get some ownership over them, it is going to be a community level advocacy issue, just like you brought up, Ray. So
Okay.
go talk to your store manager, talk to your store manager in your local community and say, listen, we are losing millions of dollars in these gift cards. How can I help you protect your customers?
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. Okay. The next one is related to family members. You think that possibly mom or dad or another loved one might be in this situation where they've met someone online and they've really got this friendship going, and you know, maybe there's some signs that they're being a little secretive about the relationship. What do you do?
This is probably one of the hardest things. And I get family members all the time asking me, well, what do I do? And I kind of start off by saying, listen, if I had the right and appropriate answer, I would have worked my way out of a job. But I don't have it. There is no perfect answer to how to do this. But this is what I recommend, right? This is not easy. This is not simple. And I'm going to use an analogy that is not necessarily perfect, but it helps people understand what we're dealing with when talking to families and the victims that they love. Take out the part that the person you're worried about is a victim of a romance scam and put in that they're addicted to alcohol. How would you treat that? Right? You would not tell them that they're stupid. You would not tell them that they're gullible. You would not, yes, you might judge them, but you're going to treat them with compassion and care and try to get them as much help as possible. That's essentially what some of these romance scam victims are. They have become so attached, so again, not to use the word loosely, but addicted to whatever this criminal is giving them, because there is something that they're getting in return. They're getting excitement, they're getting attention, fulfillment, they're feeling special, loved, everything that every human being wants to feel. So when I talk to family members, I always say, any conversation you lead with empathy and kindness, never judgment or blame. Right? Because what the criminal is saying to this loved one is, well, did you tell your family about me yet? Oh, no, not yet. I'm kind of waiting. They're going to be sensitive since, their dad just passed away or something like that. Well, I bet when you tell them, they're going to be pretty upset that I'm going to try to replace their dad. Well, then when they do tell the family and the kids react in that way, they're feeding right into what the criminal says. So take every part of your brain and just lead with kindness and empathy and ask questions. Well, tell me about him. Keep those lines of communication opening. There are so many tools that you can use to try to get somebody out of that ether. And I always just tell people it's just finding the right tool for that person. Finding the right tool. I've done interventions. I've done family interventions with victims, and sometimes they will never stop. And that's what I tell families. Sometimes they'll never stop, and you as the family need to decide your boundaries. Very similar again with the addiction example. You need to know your boundaries, because we have, and I say have, currently, I'm dealing with families whose 80-year-old victim is stealing to pay her scammer.
Oh, wow. What role do you think? I mean, we're coming out of this pandemic, thank God. But the role of, I feel like there are maybe some of these that I don't know if they fall under romance scam or not, but the social isolation where someone has met somebody. It may not be a romantic relationship, but it's a relationship. It's
Yeah.
somebody to talk to. What has that played in this whole thing?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, isolation, even prior to the pandemic, was one of the highest kind of susceptibilities that we would predict someone being a victim of. If you're isolated, you have a high susceptibility to being a victim, even prior to the pandemic, right? You don't get a phone call all day and then the nice man on the phone tells you that you won the foreign lottery. And it's just so good to talk to somebody, right? And so you keep talking and you keep talking and you keep chatting. I mean, isolation has always been huge, but especially during the pandemic, and especially online. I mean, some people had no other place to go to have any social connection whatsoever. So they went online and the scammers met them there. Now, they met them in every place possible. As I said, words with friends, any kind of social game where you're playing with people you don't know, the criminals are there. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, people will, I'll say, well, how did you meet them? Facebook. Well, did they have any mutual friends of yours? No. Okay, so well, he just looked nice and I thought I would talk to him. And so it's like, again, go back to that stranger danger analogy. Okay, well, the guy at the front door looks nice, and so did Ted Bundy. Okay, so, but, remember that you don't know who these people are, and you would never let a stranger in your front door. So why are you letting them into your life via social media?
Yeah, I'm familiar with a situation where there is a family from out of the country who has sort of ingratiated themselves to an older woman here in Oklahoma, and they've sort of become her substitute family. And it's a difficult conversation because to her, she doesn't mind giving them things because she is getting that family relationship out of it. She's doing what she would do normally if they were in fact her family.
Yeah, and it's really hard. It's really hard, especially with the new best friend when their person is even local to them. We hear a lot about these like, oh, they met at church or they met at the grocery store or whatever it is. And, sometimes if adult protection gets involved, the victim hates adult protection. So they're, why would you take that person away from me? I don't care if I'm giving them tens of thousands of dollars. Do you know what I'm getting in return? Somebody to talk to and hang out with. We do have to still remember that if you are over the age of 18 and you are someone who is declared competent, you can do whatever you want with your money, right? You can give it to whoever you want.
That's true. That's true. Amy, thank you so much. This was awesome. I got so much out of this. This was really, really good. And I do hope I'm going to hold you to that statement about coming and doing these fraud conferences with us. So just be aware of that. And Amy, Michelle, I know you're on the call. So we're going to be talking about these signs on these kiosks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I wanted to remind you, we've got some additional conferences coming up. Next week, Elaine Dodd from the Oklahoma Bankers Association is going to be sharing with us information about banking fraud. The following week, on June 10th, Jennifer Shaw from the Oklahoma Securities Commission will be here talking to us about some of the investment fraud that they're seeing that's taking place in Oklahoma. And then lastly, we've got a new player that's going to be joining us. Frederick Lohman is going to be talking about contractor fraud. He is actually with the National Insurance Crime Bureau. So that'll be kind of a new topic as well. This is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that one as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you'll be able to join us again next week, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks.